Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles. I'm Jen Hale, here with Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharpe. Very happy this morning. He's in Atlanta.
Why would he be happy?
Good morning.
No,
Happy because of what?
Skip.
I want to know why you're happy.
Skip, don't do that. You know why I'm happy.
I don't know.
4 cases of dew. 4 cases of dew.
Really? I don't,
Yes.
Seriously, number one, I think you're gloating about your pre-finals pick of, wasn't it Golden State in 6 that you picked? That's what I thought. That's what I thought I remember, but I could be wrong. And number two, speaking of number two, I don't even remember you accepting that bet. I remember I said, okay, I'll do this. I'm not sure I remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Skip, if I'm not mistaken, I picked the final score.
Did you?
I think I had 114 to 110 or 114-108. I think I was around those numbers.
Oh,
Honestly,
around
seriously.
those numbers. Oh, now we're around those numbers. Okay, I'm impressed.
Steve is checking. Skip, I know you were expecting me to come out here and gloat, have on a Kawhi jersey,
I'm
have my
surprised,
cornrow
actually.
wig.
Yeah.
Skip, I'm not a gloater. I'm not like that. It's just the look on your face right now, having to talk
I'm
about
actually
Kawhi
just
Leonard as a
fine.
champion.
Yeah, I'm just fine.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Because I'm going to remind you, that's the same guy when he was a Spur that you used to ridicule when I made the case during the 2017 playoffs that he had eclipsed LeBron James as a two-way player. Yeah. And you were scoffing at him, and all of a sudden you're driving his bandwagon. I wonder why that is. That's interesting to me.
You two
Okay.
Don't do that, Skip.
morning. All right, let's get right into Game 6. Give you a little inside look at what they're talking about. Biggest moment of the game late in the third. Danny Green fouled Klay Thompson. Klay goes down awkwardly, heads to the locker room, but wait for it. He comes back out to shoot his free throws, then leaves the game for good after scoring 30 points. In the closing seconds, with Warriors down by 1, Steph Curry misses that potential game-winning 3. Draymond Green ultimately snags the loose ball, but he calls a timeout the Warriors do not have. Technical foul. The Raptors held on for the 114-110 victory, with Kawhi Leonard winning his second career Finals MVP award. Of course, the first championship in Raptors history. Congratulations to Toronto. Shannon, what was your reaction to last night's victory?
Well, Skip, is kind of marred because it's so disappointing to see Klay go down like he went down. Skippy had it going, and I said on several occasions, although Steph had been a 2-time MVP, he can't heat up like Klay Thompson can. We've never seen anybody get as scorching hot as this kid can in a matter of seconds. And Skip, you knew he had it going early, but you really knew with 20 seconds on the shot clock, I think it was either Draymond or Iggy, passed him a ball up the court. And from 30 feet, he takes one dribble and lets it go. I say Toronto's in trouble. And then a few minutes later, he ends up going down with the knee. But Skip, the reason why the Raptors are the champs of 2019 is they're balanced. You look at this, Kawhi had 22, Siakam had 26, Kyle Lowry had 26, Van Fleet had 22, and Serge Ibaka had 15. And what we saw in Game 6 is what we saw in I think it was Game 2, is that Kyle Lowry kept them attached early in the first quarter when it seemed like Golden State wanted to pull away, kind of like Klay kept the Warriors attached in Game 2 when Toronto was trying to pull away. So you had that going because Kyle Lowry couldn't miss, Skip. He was turning around letting shots go, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. And we've never seen this before, Skip. You and I touched on this. We've never seen a player like Kyle Lowry play so much better on the road than he does at home. Role players normally play better at home. Most players play better at home. We've never seen anything like what Kyle Lowry does because he's a night and day player from home to on the road. But it was the balanced attack. I'm looking at Siakam, and I'm like, Siakam, he could not take Kevon Looney off the bounce in the first quarter. I tweeted, if he can't take Kevon Looney off the bounce, man, the Raptors going to be in trouble. Skip, the most important moment of the ball game, they put the ball in his hands. He takes Draymond off the bounce. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then they turn it over to Van Fleet. Skip, how does a guy score 14 points against Philly and scored 12 points in a Game 6 in an NBA Finals. I don't know what was going on maybe in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Skip, maybe there was something going on with his wife and the child. Maybe there was some complication, and that was on his mind. But from Milwaukee, from the first 2 rounds of, who was that? I think they played Orlando, Philly the second round. And from Milwaukee, like Game 3 from Milwaukee on, Skip, he's been unbelievable. But the balance of Toronto, and that's what you have to have. Skip, your superstar player is not going to go get you. Okay, Kevin Durant, he did that in his finals. I think he averages like 33 points a game in the finals. But sometimes when your superstar player struggles, Skip, you need the other players, the auxiliary players, to carry some of the load. And they did that in this finals. Kyle, like I said, in this game. And that was the reason that they won. They had 6 players average double figures in the NBA Finals. If you take Kevin Durant away from Golden State, they only had 3. And Skip, I feel that was the difference in the ball game. Was the one team was balanced from basically top to bottom because they only played basically 7 guys, and the other team relied on a couple of guys. And Steph Curry, we're going to touch on this a little later, Skip. He came up small again.
We might touch on it very soon, like just in a couple of minutes when it's my turn.
Oh, you about to touch?
Yes.
You about to touch on it now?
Touch on it, yes. Are you finished?
I'm finished. Go ahead. Take it away,
Okay.
bro.
Quick point on Kyle Lowry. I told you after you were killing him after Game 2 in Toronto, he always has played better away from Toronto because he always crumbles under the home pressure of Raptor Nation to live up to what he and DeMar DeRozan could never quite live up to, mostly because of your man, LeBron James, because they just genuflected in his presence and dropped to their knees and said, we are not worthy. And LeBron crushed them and crushed them and crushed their spirit. And Kyle is still having a hard time living up at home. But if you let him get away from home on the road, he takes a big old sigh of relief, and you saw what happened again last night. Now, to my man, Klay Thompson, whom I predicted before the finals would be the MVP. I went way out on that limb, and I said, Klay Thompson is going to be the MVP. And last night, with about 3 minutes left in the third quarter, he was well on his way to winning MVP because they were well on their way to winning Game 6 and forcing a Game 7. And then that happened. And just quick point of order, if the sneakers, so to speak, were on the other foot today, and there's a questionable bet on the table here because I'm not sure you accepted the bet, but that's okay. You accept after you win the bet, but whatever. The point is,
I initiated the bet.
Yeah, but then I said, okay, I accept, and you didn't say, okay, we got a bet. But that's okay. I'm going to give you this one. But if the sneaker were on the other foot, I would rescind the bet because clearly I was going to win the bet. The whole world knows I was going to win the bet, and you know in your heart of hearts I was going to win the bet, except the injury god said no again to me because clearly I had already lost Kevin Durant after I'd lost him to a calf injury, and then I lost him to an Achilles rupture out of nowhere. And then right on schedule, just when I thought Klay had assumed control of the NBA Finals off that fast break 3 that you just detailed, that happened. And I was dumbfounded. I just fell on the floor. I rolled on the floor. I couldn't believe it. It happened again. So if I were on the winning end of this bet, I'd say, let's just disqualify that bet because that doesn't count.
No,
you know it, and I know it.
Well, you're not on the winning end of the bet, so no, I'm not going to disqualify.
Okay. Well, I didn't think you would, but I know what I would do. Now, it is my turn to once again put into perspective what just happened to number 2. Once again, he proved that crime pays, as in basketball crime. I'm going to say it one last time. I hope this is the last time I have to talk about it. He quit his way out of San Antonio because he and his uncle Dennis wanted out of small market San Antonio and out from under Greg Popovich and the box that he put number 2 in, which is the biggest bunch of baloney I've ever heard. And he quit by exaggerating a thigh bruise that kept him out for 73 games on a team that featured Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, a team I thought had a chance to get to the finals, but obviously they needed their most talented player, and he flat out quit on him, and he won. Believe it or not, he won because he got every meant-to-be break that you could get along the trail. Joel Embiid is hurt and sick and sick and hurt and sick, which led to the luckiest shot in the history of the NBA playoffs, the one that he beat the buzzer with, that bounced 4 times on the rim, that he shot short from the corner. I've never seen a short corner shot do that and still fall. I don't know how it happened. The injury gods, maybe they just wanted to get even with me somehow. I don't know, but the shot fell.
That's exactly what they wanted.
And then we get to the finals, and there's no KD, and then we think there's KD, and then there's Clay. And remember, Clay missed game 3 with a hamstring. Then he fights back in game 4, and then that happened. I don't know. I finally just gave up, and I said, congratulations, number 2. It was meant to be, because sometimes good things happen to bad guys. He's a bad guy, and good things happen.
You need to stop,
I'm
Skip.
sorry.
Stop
I'm not going to back off. That's exactly who he is and was. He's trying to say after the game, well, people thought I was faking it. Yeah, you were. You were exaggerating.
He wasn't talking about people. He's talking about you and the Spurs. He's talking about you and the Spurs.
Me and the best medical team in sports thought that he was faking an injury. Okay, I'll give you that. But the painful irony of this whole discussion is that the guy who has been hurt the most over the last 8 years in the NBA, number 2 in San Antonio, he was always hurt with something. He had like 12 different injuries. He was always missing games. Then you keep giving the injury excuse in the NBA Finals, and not to mention the conference finals, and somehow he stays upright the whole finals. For all 6 games, he's just fine. He looked 1,000% healthy to me last night. And he's the one guy who didn't deserve it.
He told you he had tendonitis, Skip.
What's that?
I said he told you he had tendonitis from overcompensation. That's been the report. That's what he said also.
What did your eyes tell you last night? Did he look okay to you? He looked just fine.
No, I know he has tendonitis.
No, I think he looked like 1,000% okay. You know it and I know it. So just stop it. It's like painful irony. I just can't even fight through it. So now let's talk about my man, Steph Curry. Again, I was his biggest fan going into the draft. I said, take him number 1 over Blake Griffin. Nope, they didn't listen, and he won 2 regular season MVPs. And you know, this is the truth. I'm going to give you an analogy you can appreciate. Steph Curry is a mini LeBron James in that he is a rare talent with no clutch gene. That's what he is. Rare talent, no clutch gene. Because every big shot that he has had in his postseason career, he has missed. He is now 0 for 8 on go-ahead field goal attempts in the final 20 seconds of playoff games. 0 for 8. And they ran a slick little play last night. They had a chance to steal this game. They had no business being in the game that late in the game. But
they cheated because, Skip, you know Steph Curry tripped himself.
He did.
They didn't trip Steph. He tripped over his own foot.
I'm going to give you that. It was a phantom foul call, and it shouldn't have happened. But by hook or crook, I'm going to give you hook or crook. They have the basketball. And my man, Danny Green, he just has brain locked, and he just kind of, talk about choking. He just chokes on the pass up court to Siakam, throws it out of bounds, and all of a sudden, they've got the ball on their end of the court with a timeout. So Steve Kerr says, let's run. It's a play that I've seen numerous times before, but it's the old Iggy cross-court pass to Draymond. You know, he throws it all the way across court, and then Steph starts off like a decoy, like he's not going very hard, and then he loops around DeMarcus off a pick, and he comes free, and he gets an open look. And if he makes that shot, we're having a different conversation. They're going to Toronto. I don't know what chance they'd have without Clay or KD in Toronto, but you never know. Maybe Toronto tightens up. I don't know. But Steph's got a shot, and he missed it.
Not to cut you off, Skip, but like Van Fleet, they would have got me because I would have thought Iggy had thrown the ball away because Van Fleet who's playing Steph Curry, and Steph Curry, like you said, he fakes the screen. And when I see the ball come, I'm looking at the ball. And next thing you know, Steph peels, gets the pick from Boogie, and gets a great look. How many times you think in the regular season Steph has made that shot?
Thank you for bringing that up. I think he can make it in the regular season with his eyes closed. I think in his pregame warm-ups, he can make that shot behind his back. He can go Meadowlark Lemon and just make it through his legs. Seriously, he can shoot that like it's a free throw, and he missed it badly. It wasn't even close. And I thought, look, there's that guy. And You know what? He goes 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter, and he missed all 4 of his threes, did Steph Curry last night in a fourth quarter with obviously no Klay and no KD. So you're the man. You got to do this. And meanwhile, the closer for the other team is Van Vliet, and he makes 3 threes in the fourth quarter, and they were big-time threes. They were killers. They were momentum breakers. They were season savers. They were title-saving shots. And
yes,
I give it up because I can't beat that unless Steph can be that guy, and he proved once again, he's just not that guy to make that shot.
Well, Skip, I'm going to push back when you say he's a mini LeBron, because considering that LeBron has more playoff game winners than Michael Jordan and Kobe, and we've seen what he can do in the playoffs. We just saw it last year. He had 2 buzzer beaters against Indiana, and we saw him against these Raptors that won the title this year, minus Kawhi. So we've seen him. We've also seen him hit that big buzzer beat at the top of the key against Orlando. I think it was 2009, Skip. So we're not going to even go there because we know what LeBron represents come playoff time and game winners.
We don't. He has run from so many late shots like he did in Game 1 at Oracle last year in the finals. Just take that shot, LeBron, or drive it and get to the free throw line. Nope. We know he's the worst superstar free throw shooter late game we have ever seen. So
this is not about free throws. This is not about free throws.
Well,
we're not going to go to the free throws. I know, but he hadn't had that opportunity come playoff time. So when he does, we'll discuss that at another date and time. But to get to your point about Steph Curry, Skip, this was his game. Now, if he gets this to a Game 7 and they lose, he will take somewhat of a beating, but not like he's going to take for not being able to close
I'm
this.
With you.
Because they're going to look at him in a Game 7 and say, okay, he's minus KD, he's minus Klay. Okay, do we really expect Steph to pull this out? Okay, at least get us to a Game 7.
Okay.
But Skip, we've seen this before because it happened in Game 2, and you mentioned this. He didn't take any shots in Game 2 in the fourth quarter. He was 0 for 0 for 0. No points, no shots, nothing.
After Klay went out with 8 minutes left.
After Klay went out, and they still were able to win the ball game. Iggy balled out of his mind. This was old throwback Iggy because we hadn't seen Iggy play like this in the playoffs in a very long time. So he was coming along with Klay. Now Klay goes out, Iggy's still balling. Now, Steph, it's your turn. You got to get us to a Game 7. Just get us to a Game 7, and we can live with any result that happens in that Game 7, good, bad, or indifferent. Skip, he's got to. He's got to finish this. He's too good of a player. He's been in this moment too many times not to deliver at least once.
At least once. So now he's played in 5 finals with no finals MVP. And let's not leave Draymond out of this. Look, Draymond does so many good things. He stuffs the stat sheet. I'm looking at these numbers, and he gets 19 rebounds and 13 assists, but he also stuffs that other category over here on the far right, which is TO, turnovers. He had 8 turnovers last night. And again, I'm rooting like crazy for Golden State, and it seemed like every other time he touched the ball, he just threw it away. And it just, after a while, you can't overcome that. They're better. Toronto's better. They're deeper. They're just a better basketball team. They're better on defense. So if 8 times you just give them the ball back, that's 8 empty trips. That's 8 chances to score that you just gave away. Well, you're going to lose. It's amazing it came down to the last shot.
But this is who they are. You talked about if they take better care of the basketball. Skip, they averaged 17 turnovers in the 5 previous games.
They did.
What did they get last night?
16.
They got 17.
Yeah.
This is
17
basically
total.
Skip. This
they
is
did.
who
They hit their average.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a good point.
Right. This is who they are. And we've talked about this. They get careless with the basketball.
And Draymond Green has been a Defensive Player of the Year, and you pointed out with 26 seconds left, he's got Siakam, and all you got to do is just man up. Just stay in front of him. Just make him take a tough shot.
Skip.
Right?
He went for the steal.
He went for the steal, and he whiffed. And Siakam, it was still a pretty tough shot, but it was open, and he made it. And it was a big shot in the game, man. It gave him a 3-point cushion, and you can't do that. You can't. There are times to gamble and times not to gamble, and I just – He deserves some of the blame for what happened last night.
Well, Skip, the thing is that you look at his stat line, he almost averaged a triple-double, 12.5, 10,
Yeah.
9.3 assists per game. So he was playing, but Skip, he will attempt things, and that when it works really well, you're like, oh, my God, look at that pass by Draymond. But there were some plays early in the ball game where he just threw it directly to Kawhi. He threw it directly to Siakam, and I'm looking at him like, Draymond, why would you attempt that at this juncture of the ball game?
I don't know.
The ball is a premium.
I don't know.
But, Skip, you know what? To go back to what you said about the medical staff of the Spurs and them being very, very conservative, we saw medical staffs can be wrong because remember, even the medical staff at the Warriors, even independent medical staff told Kevin Durant he couldn't hurt himself any worse. They were wrong. It's okay.
Not sure they
will.
told him that,
Maybe,
but whatever. Yeah, that's what Steve Kerr said they told him. But
well, if Kevin Durant went out there on his own, if they told him something that made him comfortable, that he wanted to go out there and risk whatever, however the amount of percentage that it was, Kevin Durant was willing to risk it.
yeah.
So that's why I'm going to have to push back on you when it comes to Kawhi, because it's okay. Maybe, just maybe, the medical staff of the Spurs were wrong with Kawhi in this instance.
I think they
And
were
he
not. We'll talk
proved
about that in just a moment, but let's finish up on the
Kawhi
injury of
said,
last
"Right."
night. Klay Thompson's injury.
It's sad, Skip.
As soon as it happened, I thought the worst. I thought he had wrecked his knee, and then I'm riding the emotional roller coaster because they help him up the tunnel. It looks like he can't even put weight on it, and they inform him, wait a second, if you stay in the locker room and you don't shoot these free throws, you're done for the night. And he runs back down the tunnel and steps up to the free throw line and makes two, and then he kind of trots back on defense, a little limpy, but trotting. And I thought, wow, I think he might be okay. And then I see him up in the tunnel after they took him out. They took an intentional foul and took him out. He's running in the tunnel, and he looked like he was running full speed on what turned out to be a ruptured ACL, torn. And then Doris Burke, what's that?
No, go ahead, Skip. Finish your point. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Doris Burke reports that he's jumping up and down on what was a torn ACL, but what I thought was maybe an okay knee in the locker room. And then they said that Michael Thompson's father, who was obviously a very good player for the Lakers, high draft pick, he's in the tunnel and he
He's the
asked
number 1 overall
Klay
draft
twice.
pick.
Yeah, he said, "Hey, did you hear anything? Did it pop?" And according to Doris, Klay said, "No, I didn't hear anything." So I'm thinking at that point, emotional roller coaster, I'm thinking, I think maybe he's going to be okay. And then I hear it's torn. Wow. Well, I don't know. Obviously, Phillip Rivers once upon a time played quarterback on a torn ACL, but that's different than playing NBA basketball. But still.
You know what, Skip? The thing is, and you can jump up and down. The ACL provides the stability in your knee. John Elway played his entire college and NFL career without an ACL. He lost it in high school.
Yep.
So you can play without an ACL. You know, he wore a knee brace, but it provides the stability. So going up and down is fine. It's just when you have to move that the leg is unstable. Skip, the minute he did it, the first thing I said, that's an alphabet injury.
Yeah,
that's an ACL, an MCL, or PCL.
Totally agree.
I knew that was something. And then when he got up and he walked into the locker room and he coming back, I said, man, this joker done pulled a Paul Pierce. That's what I'm thinking, Skip, because I'm like, he had to have torn something given the way his weight came down and the knee buckled inward.
Yeah.
I'm like, did he? And then when he jumping up and down trying to like, okay, I feel okay. Because the adrenaline's still going, Skip. There's adrenaline pumping through his body now. And he doesn't realize what has happened. And then once you settle down, Skip, because we had a guy tear his ACL in the first quarter of a football game and play the entirety of the game on it.
Klay has to get my vote for tough guy of the game, no doubt. Likely
Oh
out
my
now
God,
until
he's unbelievable.
February or March rehabbing, but of course it is Klay Thompson. He may surprise us.
No mercy. No mercy.
Somber news out of the NFL last night with Broncos owner Pat Bowlen passing away at the age of 75. Our condolences to his family. Shannon, obviously, you knew him well. What are your thoughts?
Jen, I knew him very well, and I'm very, very sad to wake up this morning to this news. Bronco country, the NFL lost a great guy. Skip, people talk about being unselfish. I think the highest honor you can receive as an honor is to have your team win the championship in your particular sport. And when Mr. Bowlen won the Super Bowl after we beat the Packers, he didn't say, I'm so happy for myself. He uttered 4 words. This one's for John. It meant more to him to win the trophy for John Elway than it did for himself. That shows you the type of man that he was. Skip, I am so sad. Less than 2 months from going into the Hall of Fame, and although he had been suffering from Alzheimer's for the better part of 6 or 7 years, Skip, man, this hurt me, Skip. This really hurt me because I knew him on a different level than just owner-player. I knew him on a much personal level, and he was a very good friend. And I remember going back when I retired, Skip, he told me, he says, you don't need a ticket. He says, your face is your credential. You're always welcome to anything that's Broncos related. And I am so sad. I'm so sad. I'm hurt for his family, Miss B, Annabelle, his family, and all the Bronco country out there. But we'll get through this.
I defer to you on this one. I did not know him. I don't know that much about him, but I appreciate your sentiments about him, and I'm very sorry to hear that he passed.
Very well said,
Thank you,
Shannon.
Skip.
Again,
Appreciate
our
it.
thoughts and prayers with the Bolin family today. All right, let's go back to the finals. Kawhi Leonard led the Raptors to their first NBA title last night, named Finals MVP for his efforts. It is the second time Kawhi has won the award. The Claw came so close to being a unanimous choice, receiving 10 out of 11 votes. Kawhi averaged about 29 points, 10 boards in the finals, but he did not make a shot in the fourth quarter last night, only free throws. So, Shannon, did he deserve that MVP award?
He absolutely deserved it. And Hubie Brown, you became a prisoner of the moment. I mean, for Fred VanVleet, for you to give him a vote, Hubie, you've been around the game. You've covered the game longer than I've been around. But Fred VanVleet, to get what? I understand, because it seems to me that Hubie Brown is from his and Skip Bayless are from that same school. But Fred VanVleet landed the plane. Hell, somebody got to get the plane up in the air. And that was Kawhi. So, yes, he deserved it. More than deserved it.
He can get it up in the air.
No, stop it, Skip, stop.
I'd rather have somebody who could
Hold
land
up.
my plane. I don't know about you.
Well, how you going to take off? Go sit on the runway then.
I can handle that.
You know what, Skip? Look, Kawhi, I'm looking at Kawhi's numbers, 28, 10, and 4. Skip, he was unbelievable. He almost was a 40, 50, 90. Skip, he shot 49% from the floor. He shot 38% from the three. He shot 88% from the free throw line through 23 games in the playoffs. Skip, he was fabulous. You know what he represents. Yes, I get it. At some point in time, you're going to have to move on past this hurt, Skip. It's like in any relationship. Sometimes when your girlfriend or your boyfriend leaves you, it hurts for a while, but you learn to deal with it. As long as they're happy. That's all you care about, Skip. That's what you should care about. But, Skip, he was phenomenal. You remember him in Game 3 on the road. And let me tell you something that it was reported that after they lost Game 2, Nick Nurse gathered his team up in the locker room. He said, guys, all we have to do is go to Oakland, the Warriors, and win one. Kawhi stood up and said, F that. Let's go get both of them. Now, had Michael Jordan said that, had Kobe Bryant said that, oh, my goodness, did you hear what Kobe said? Did you hear what Michael said? But because this is so outside of what we think Kawhi's personality is, it basically passed without getting a blip. But old Kawhi, old show enough, the corn-rolled assassin, was true to form. And I told you, they even had Mr. Russell in attendance last night. He's one of 3 men that can say, you know what? I've been at 2 locales, and I won a title, and I've been finals MVP at both. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James, and now Kawhi Leonard gets to have a seat at that table. He more than deserved it. It wasn't going to be close. Now, had the Golden State won in 7, Skip, you might have had that thing might have been nip and tuck between Clay and Steph. But this was a no-brainer for me. Kawhi Leonard showed, and he proved it.
It was Clay.
His
what
haters.
was happening. Clay would have been the MVP, as I predicted.
Your prediction is wrong because your team lost. But anyway, sure enough, he proved all his haters that he was right. That his quad had tendinosis, and he sat it down, and the Toronto Raptors said, what you need, Kawhi? You want Danny Green? Hey, throw in Danny Green. You want this? You want your entourage? We got you.
Yeah.
And guess what happened, Skip? It was all worth it. I don't know if Kawhi's going to stay or go, but it was worth it. They mortgaged the franchise to get him, and he rewarded them with a title. He showed he's a number one, and he can win. Not with pop, not with Tim Duncan, Manu, or Tony Parker, because they had nothing to do with this. It was all Kawhi, and I'm happy. I'm proud to be we the North this morning.
we the North. I got it. So Toronto crawled for the claw, and they succeeded because crime pays. At least in this case, crime paid. And by the way, speaking of this great new leader that number 2 turned into, it was just a year ago in the San Antonio locker room. He got put on the hot seat by 2 surefire Hall of Famers, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, who said, "Are you with us or against us? Are you going to play hurt or not?" I don't know.
No.
I don't know. You're out. I'm sorry. You're off the list. And by the way, I would like to point out, I am proudly wearing my Spurs colors today because I'm representing.
You in mourning.
Yeah. What's that? I'm not in mourning. No, look,
You
I got
mourning.
Spurs. It's silver and black. You got that? Silver and black. I've got my Spurs shoes on. I'll show you that. But here's the point.
You should have on some gold.
I can make a strong case that Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet were at least as valuable as number 2. And Hubie Brown, for whom I have the utmost respect, did make a strong case for Fred VanVleet because clearly he is this team's closer. He closed that game last night. He closes every game. Number 2, not made for fourth quarters. I told you this before the finals. I told you this before the playoffs started. He doesn't have a fourth quarter backbone in him. He never has, and we saw it again and again and again and again in these finals.
Skip, are you sure? I'm going to give you an opportunity. Are you sure he doesn't have a fourth quarter backbone? Are you sure about that?
Is it my turn to talk or yours? I'm just wondering, because I think I was rudely interrupted. I think I was just about to make my case here, right?
Okay, well, go ahead, make your case.
Thank you very much. Case. So, Kyle Lowry, let's talk about, well, first, Fred VanVleet. You rudely interrupted me. Fred VanVleet did a sensationally underrated job of defending Steph Curry because he had him nose to nose. Sometimes it was boxing one nose to nose, but he did a job of hounding and dogging Steph Curry through these 6 games. Now, Kyle Lowry was the driving force of this team, and I believe he's the stronger leader than number 2 is, obviously because he's been there longer. But every big moment, he shredded their defense off the dribble. He was the one who kept just unlocking the lane. He was slicing and dicing every coverage by getting in the lane and kicking it out. And the big turning point game was obviously game 3 at Oracle, and he goes for 23 and 9 assists in that game, and that was huge. And last night was huger because, as you know, he scores 15 in the first quarter and 21 in the first half on his way to 26 and 7 assists, and was, again, the driving force. He was the one creating so much of their offense. So he winds up for the 6 games a plus 33, while number 2 winds up a plus 15, which was 6th on the Raptors. So let's see, plus 33, then down to plus. Oh, so one guy had plus 33. The other guy was 6th on the team in plus minus. That's interesting. And then let's talk about last night, shall we? Last night, number 2 in the big closeout game at Oracle was a -2 for the night in plus minus. -2, while Kyle Lowry was a plus 16. That's a big gap there from plus 16 down to -2. And that... Yeah, go ahead.
What was Fred VanVleet last night? With all that accolades, with all those exploits, he was -10.
Okay.
So let that sink in for just a second.
But
he was -10 and plus minus.
What was he in the fourth quarter? Want to check that out? Let's check that out. So here's the point.
Go ahead. I'll let you make your point. Go ahead and make your point.
In the fourth quarter last night, number 2 went 0 for 4 and 0 for 2 from 3. This is it. This is a nip-tuck game. This is seesaw. This is a fierce battle. This is for it because we all know if you get back to Game 7, anything could happen in Game 7 at Toronto. So you need him to land your plane, and he's careening off the runway. And he scored 3 points in the fourth quarter. And when did those 3 come? They came on free throws after the game had been decided with 0.9 seconds left. 0.9 seconds left. He scores 3 free throws, and he still won MVP. You know why? Because the media, it may be a me thing, I don't know, but the media is protecting him the way they haven't protected anybody this side of LeBron James. The most overprotected superstar in sports is this guy. He could have called in sick for that game last night, and if Toronto had won, he would have still gotten the MVP. Because we look at 3 of the 6 games in the fourth quarter, he disappeared. How about game 2? Do you remember what happened over the last 8 minutes? Clay is gone. Steph is still gone. He's out on the court and goes 0 for 0. And they lost the game. Why was that? Because number 2 failed to show. Remember that game? He went 0 for 3 from 3 in the last 8 minutes and 0 for 2 from 2 in the last minute and a half, right? Yeah. And then how about the other night after that little flurry he had? What happened in the last 3:28 at home? This is in Toronto of game 5. He just disappears. He goes 0 for 2 down the stretch, and they blow a 6-point lead, and he's the MVP. And I'm going to say this again. I still can't figure out how he was the MVP in 2014 as the Spurs blew LeBron's Heat off the floor by a record finals margin. Who led that team in scoring through the finals? Tony Parker did. Who led in rebounding? Is Tim Duncan with 15 points and 10 rebounds. Third rebounder was this guy. And who led?
I'm thinking, you know what?
Who led in plus minus in that series? Manu Ginobili, and this guy was third on the team. And how did he win MVP?
83. Skip.
I don't know.
But here's the thing.
Here we go again.
Let me take your points backwards. The first one, you seem to have a problem with Kawhi winning Finals MVP in 2014, but you got that problem now in 2019 that you didn't have in 2014. That was something you should have broached then. The statute of limitations of you having a problem with him winning the Finals MVP is null and void. If you don't mind me asking, Skip Bayless, can you tell the people at home who led both teams in fourth quarter scoring?
In when? In this series or the last one?
Yeah,
2014?
both teams. No. Who led both teams in the 20? Which player led both teams in finals fourth quarter scoring?
In which year? I don't know which one you're talking about.
In the 2019 NBA Finals.
2019.
Between the Golden State, between the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. Can you tell the people at home who led in fourth quarter scoring on both teams?
Okay, but the 2 games at Golden State in game 3 and 4 were blowouts. What does it matter? If you want empty calorie points, I'll give you empty calorie points.
Hold on.
I just showed you what happened in the fourth quarter, down the stretch. Tell me what happened in game 2 and game 5. Help me out. Nothing happened. What happened last night? Nothing happened.
I'm going to get to that. As soon as you tell me that Kyle Lowry shot 2 for 7 in game 1, had 9 points, and had 13 points in game 2 in which they lost. Can you tell me in his first 2 games, Kyle Lowry had 20 points? They were 1-1. And you say he deserves finals MVP over Kawhi.
Okay.
Am I correct?
And Van Fleet also. I think they're both right there. 1 and 1A.
Okay.
They were more valuable. Valuable.
Hold on. In games 3 and 4, Kawhi had 30, 5 and 6 in game 3, a win. Mm-hmm. He had 36, 12 with 0 turnovers. He and Michael Jordan are the only 2 players.
Yep. Good game.
What?
I told you he had one big good game. And he had 3 disappearing acts in the fourth quarter that nobody wants to look at. Sweep it under your carpet because it happened. It happened, and it was sorry. It was typical, predictable number 2. It happened. I know him. I watched him for 7 years. And again, you say, why didn't I have an issue with 2014? It's because I'm a big Spurs fan, and I didn't care about it. It wasn't an issue because they won by a record finals margin. You could have given it to Duncan easily. You could have given it to Parker easily. You could have given it to Ginobili. You could have given it to Patty Mills, who made 13 threes in that series. But it's just like, we'll pick somebody.
Skip, UB Brown agrees with you. I've got to get you guys to move on a little because I know you're never going to come to a consensus on this one.
No, we're not, Jen. You're right.
That's very apparent. Let's stick with the Kawhi theme. He made some interesting comments last night about his old home in San Antonio. Of course, much to Skip's dismay, Kawhi only played 9 games last season for the Spurs because of that quad injury. Then he got traded. Let's take a listen to the Claw.
A lot of people were doubting me. Thought I was either faking an injury or didn't want to play for a team. And that was disappointing to me that was out in the media. So me just, going through that and, I just knew that I have to make myself happy and no one else. And I have to trust myself. And it doesn't matter what anybody has to say about me. I know who I am as a person. I know how I feel. just be able to win this championship this year is just something special for me, because you know how the last year everybody was looking at me, and I stayed true to myself, and I had a great support system. And once I got here to Toronto, they understood everything, and the move kept moving from there.
All right, so Shannon, what did Kawhi prove this season?
He proved that he can lead a team to a championship. He's a superstar in the same category as LeBron James and Kevin Durant. He's of that caliber. He's cut from that cloth. He also proved, Skip, I think he wanted to prove it bothered him, it hurt him that people actually thought he was faking. And it's hard for me to understand how people can think that, given having been a professional athlete, knowing where a lot of these guys came from very similar backgrounds that I did, is that you work all your life to get into this situation. And now you get there, now you know what, now I don't want to play. I'm good. I've made it this far. I can just sit back and rest on my laurels. That's not him. I will go to my grave believing that Kawhi Leonard was hurt to the point that he felt he couldn't play. And you said that Kawhi, in the 7 years that he was there, he was always hurt. Well, then why did they put him on the hot seat then? Why wasn't the problem when he complained about his ankle? Or you said he complained about his elbow, he complained about his back. No one put him on the hot seat then. It's just now, all of a sudden, Kawhi's been the same. The one thing I know about this guy, I don't know him personally, but watching his mannerisms, he's like clockwork. You can set your clock by him. You know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's
he's not
true.
up and down. He's right here, Skip. He's steady. Now, you might not like that steadiness because you like to see the range of emotion. You like to see some ebbs and flows in a person, but that's not what he is. Skip, he proved that the way he went about it, he was right. They didn't believe him. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to make anybody else happy. I got to make me happy. And at the end of the day, that's where a lot of people mess up, Skip. They try to please everybody else except themselves. And in the process of trying to please others, you make the one person that should be the happiest the most disappointed. That's yourself. Kawhi says, nah. He got to a place, they believed him, they gave him load management, whatever that is now, Skip. He took 22 games off. He rewarded their faith, their belief in him by delivering a championship. You know what it hurt so bad for you and the Spurs? Because you know your championship window, when he walked out the door, it closed behind him.
Wrong. Very wrong. Is it my turn?
It's your
Okay,
turn.
so you say, why didn't they put him on the hot seat before that 73 games he missed last year? Because they gave him break after patient break after patient break. You need 20 games off? Take 20 games off. You need 10 here? Take 10 here. You need 7 games off? Take 7 games off. You don't want to play the back-to-back? No problem. They babied and coddled him for 6 years up until the 7th year, when finally his Uncle Dennis took over all of his affairs, business, professional affairs, and convinced him, because Uncle Dennis lives up in New Jersey and loves Knicks Nets, we got to get you out of that small market. We got to get you out from under that thumb of Greg Popovich. And so what he proved, big picture, was that in today's NBA, you can get your way by quitting on the team that made you the player that you are. Because remember what he was when he got drafted. No. Nobody would have taken him with the 15th overall pick. He was a shy kid known as nothing but a defensive stopper who was an underrated talent that R.C. Buford said, I can make something out of that kid. And they got him with the shot doctor of all shot gurus, Chip England. And they completely rebuilt his shot. And then Pop and Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker taught him how to win, how to be a pro, how to handle himself. And how did he repay them? By exaggerating some thigh bruise injury because he just wanted out. And once they pushed back on him after a while, they gave him about 30 games off. It was probably 30. It was into January. And finally, the most conservative, patient medical staff in all of sports said, hey, we're sorry, but we're going to have to publicly declare you capable of all basketball activities. And they did. They went public with it. And it put him on a hot seat. And he pushed back by saying, I'm hurt. I'm hurt even worse than you think I am. I'm going to get a second opinion. I'm going to get a third opinion. I'm going to go to that orthopedic. I'm going to go to that physical therapist in New York. And they're going to come here and they're going to tell you I'm really hurt. Baloney. And Tony Parker finally had the call-out of call-outs because Tony Parker had ruptured his quadriceps tendon in the playoffs the year before and had rushed back to try to make a playoff push. And he finally, after he confronted number 2 in that locker room that day, and it was late March, he went public before the San Antonio media and said, my injury was 100 times worse than his. This is Hall of Fame quality. This is high character. Tony Parker doesn't call anybody out, and he called that guy out. Manu Ginobili doesn't give up on anybody the way he gave up on that guy. And trust me, they were gritting their teeth last night because no one has ever been less happy for an MVP than those two and Tim Duncan were for that guy. Trust me.
But Skip, but here's the thing though, Skip. If you said throughout his first 7 years, he was always hurt. But guess what happened? He always came back. So for him not to come back after suffering all from that he's come back from all those injuries. Every time, elbow, back, knee, foot, whatever the problem was, he came back. This time, he was unable to come back. It didn't really dawn on you, like, man, something must be really wrong with Kawhi because normally when he's injured, he always comes back.
They're all minor. What was wrong last year was Uncle Dennis. That's the reason he didn't come back. He said, let's force a trade. Let's force our way. That's how today's NBA works. Let's force a trade. Way to go.
If you don't mind me asking, Skip, you said Uncle Dennis lives in Jersey and he wants to get him around the Knicks and the Nets. But it seems that all the reports that I've heard that Kawhi's preferred destination is the Clippers.
Well, that's
so how the hell does that work?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to end up doing. Who knows what he's going to do? All I know is I want to wish Toronto well. I hope you enjoyed him because he's about to quit on you just the way he quit on the Spurs.
Whoa. Skip,
don't do that.
Don't do that, Skip.
He is
Skip, don't do that. No, Skip, don't do that. Skip.
And he did. He got you your championship. He got it, but that's the end of that deal.
The Larry O'Brien trophy is still sticky from champagne.
Yeah.
You won't even let him clean it up. You're already ushering him out the door. Let Drake celebrate.
Well,
the curse of Drake is dead.
Well, I hope
let
they
him
enjoy
have
it now.
Let him have it.
It's not going to last.
Why? Skip, hold on. Wait a minute, Skip. It hasn't been 24 hours, and you're already trying to rain on the parade. They got a parade scheduled for, I think, next week sometime, and you already forecasting rain. Let them celebrate. Let it be sunny for a little while.
You going to go up there? Drive one of the cars?
I might.
Yeah.
I might. Hey, hold on, Skip. You let me do my part from Toronto? I can get Drake on. I can bring Kawhi on. I can get Masai Ujiri on. Although he might be dipping too. You hear that offer that the Wizards are prepared to offer him?
He's got a deal of a lifetime. Yeah.
Ujiri certainly deserves some credit here.
Let him
some
have
really
it. Let him have his
gutsy
moment.
moves to get them to this point, from firing Coach of the Year Dwayne Casey to letting go of DeMar Rosen and bringing Kawhi in.
It all worked.
It did.
Way to go.
No mercy. No mercy.
Back to the NBA. The Raptors are champs for the first time ever. Klay Thompson, though, had to leave the game in the third quarter with a torn ACL after scoring 30. The Warriors did have a chance to win it at the end, but Steph Curry missed the go-ahead three-pointer in the final seconds. Kawhi Leonard, of course, scored 22 points and won his second Finals MVP award. We are joined by FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Chris, such a fun and dramatic game, regardless of whether you're happy with the outcome. What was your biggest takeaway from the contest?
Well, look, with all due respect to the Raptors, who played a tremendous game and series, they deserve this championship, and it is historically, this will not be looked down on, and it should not be, because of the injuries. This has happened many times in NBA history with some of the greatest players of all time, have won championships when the other team was banged up. So I take nothing away from them. But my biggest takeaway, honestly, watching that game, was the heart of a champion that the Warriors displayed. It really was. We already know how banged up they were going into this game. But Klay Thompson, already playing on a hamstring injury, goes out there, tears his ACL, runs back to shoot the free throws, jogs back like he's going to stay in the game, and then tells Steve Kerr, I'll be back in 2 minutes on a torn ACL.
And they show him he's running in the runway. He's running.
That dude is a straight-up warrior, no pun intended. And then Iguodala shows the heart of a champion. Best game of the series, hitting a couple threes. Draymond played well. He had his moments, but 19 rebounds, an undersized team. I thought he played well. And I got to give it to Boogie. Boogie's Boogie, but Boogie played well. DeMarcus Cousins. Steph was okay, and I still believe Steph is a top 20 player all time. I still believe he's the best shooter of all time. I still believe the narrative that he doesn't show up or play well in the finals or playoffs is overstated. And I think he still should have won it in 2015, the finals MVP. But he has not had that. He's not taken over a finals. He's been in 4 now, and he's had signature moments, but he hasn't taken over an entire series or the bulk of a series. If they had come back and won, I think we would have seen what happened in Game 7, but Klay could have been the MVP instead of Steph if they had taken over and won.
Somebody predicted that, but go ahead.
Klay was great.
Chris.
Yep.
Steph has been in 5 finals now. Not 4,
5. And again, I think he's played well. I mean, he was average, 25, 26. But he just hasn't taken one over. And, of course, look, the defense they put on him, as he called it, janky. I mean, that boxing one, they're doubling him, getting it out of his hands. It's tough. But that shot, it wasn't wide open, that last shot. But the best shooter in the world, we've seen Ray Allen. We've seen Michael Jordan. We've seen Steve Kerr. We've seen guys step up in that moment and hit it. And he, the best shooter of all time, I believe, couldn't finish it off.
Shannon.
But Chris, we've seen him shoot that shot. You remember that Saturday night in OKC when he hit one from the check line.
Right.
He walked into a 3 and shot one from about 40 feet. So we've seen him make shots tougher
Even
than
game
that.
5 when he hit the game tying shot. Yeah.
Right. What it showed to me, Chris, is that the Raptors were just, once these injuries started to mount, there's no question in my mind. If Kevin Durant's healthy, if both teams are healthy, Golden State sweeps this series. But because Kevin Durant was out, they had the Raptors had 6 guys scoring double figures. And if you take Kevin Durant out, guys that played more than 20 minutes, the Warriors only had 3. Well, they had 4 guys last night that gave you 22 or more points. You see the balance from top to bottom. They get Serge Ibaka comes in one game, give you 6 blocks. He comes in another game and gives you 20 points. He comes in last night, gives you 15 points off the bench. And then you get Van Fleet doing what he does. He averaged 14, 2 and 2, but it seemed like all of his points came in the fourth quarter.
All right.
Look, you can only go so far. At some point in time, there's a reason why that KD has been an MVP. He's been a finals MVP. There's a reason why Klay is an all-star. There's a reason why he's a 3-point champ. At some point in time, no matter what mentality, no matter how much heart you show, you better have some good players to put out there on the court. Because Toronto is here for a reason. They have a very good team. They have a true superstar, and they've done a great job. They get Marc Gasol. They get Kyle Lowry chipped in last night. You think about this. They had 2 starters that scored a combined 3 points. But when you get 37, 38 points from your bench, well, this is how you win championships. Sometimes it gets overstated. Well, the guy didn't play well. And Kawhi had a steady game. It wasn't a game 4 performance where he was 36 and 12, but he was steady. But look at Kyle Lowry in the first. He couldn't miss. Kept him attached when it looked like the Warriors were going to run away. But what this game proved to me last night, basketball is a team sport.
Right.
And the better team will always win.
Let me ask you, you mentioned...
I got to cross that one. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you go. The better team, how about the healthier team will always win? How about that? Because my biggest takeaway was that this just wasn't meant to be for Golden State. I'm sorry. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw Kevin Durant look like he'd come back full speed. I saw him warm up for Game 5 and look like 100% KD. I saw him make his first 3 threes in Game 5 at Toronto and set the tone that reverberated through the whole game. And I saw him wreck his Achilles tendon, rupture it. And then last night, I saw Klay Thompson explode. It's old Game 6 Klay. We've seen it at least twice in big games before. But this was going to be the biggest Game 6 because he had just scored 30 points in 32 minutes. It's just 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter, and he had just hit, as Shannon pointed out to open the show, one of the all-time finals threes, because it's a fast break three. It's like 1-on-3, maybe three, and he just pulls up from like 5 feet behind the three-point line and just swishes it. And that's when I said, uh-oh, they got this.
Yeah.
And then when he wrecked his knee, remember, the free throws made it up 5. That was their biggest lead of the night. And so I thought he had just gotten fouled. So let's say he doesn't wreck his knee. Right. He's about to go step to the free throw line and make 2 to make it up 5. They're going to win that game.
They pull away.
Yes. It felt like they were about to explode and pull away. And it's just like the injury gods, sometimes they just dictate. I was there in '88. I don't know if you were there at Detroit.
Lakers.
Yeah, with the Lakers. And in game 1, it was at Detroit. Magic and Byron Scott don't just pull their hamstrings, they tear their hamstrings. They are gone for the series. Well, it's over. And I had predicted that the Lakers would sweep, and they got swept. I believe it might have been a 5 game. I think
it was 4 or 5.
5, maybe it was 5, but whatever. It was just over from that moment. Well, this was over the moment he wrecked his knee. But to your point, I don't know how they hung in. I kept saying, I don't know how they're doing this, but they did. And they did get that guy a shot. And I'm sorry, we're going to talk about this more in depth in a little bit, but Steph is just not that guy. He can do a lot of things, but he's not that guy because he's never been that guy to make that shot. That was the shot. That's one that would reverberate for years. Would that not have brought the house down at Oracle in the final night at Oracle?
No doubt.
And you get your look, and it wasn't great because Ibaka came flying and he's 7 feet tall, and I get that. But there was a window of look.
For most people, that looks like an unmakeable shot, but he does that all the time. Because he wasn't, he's like, he looks off balance and all that, but that's what he does.
He makes that, in regular season games, he makes it with his eyes closed.
Yep.
I told Shannon, in pregame warmups, he might make that one between his legs or behind his back. Seriously. He's like a Harlem Globetrotter, right?
No question.
Well, that's the look, and you got to make that shot, and he misses it, and it just felt like, it just left me deflated, like, it's just not meant to be because you put the onus on him, and he's not that guy. Do you know what Klay might have done in the fourth quarter if he'd stayed healthy? It could have been devastation.
Well, what I want to ask,
he's going for 40.
What I want to ask Shannon and you, because Shannon said they sweep them if they're fully healthy. What if they just have Klay Thompson? If they go into just like they went into the series, there's no KD and Klay doesn't get hurt and he plays all 6, 7 games.
And
They still win.
I believe Golden. Not
sweep.
Not sweep. I believe Skip. If Klay Thompson is healthy, he doesn't miss Game 3, or even if he misses Game 3, and Iggy gives you in Game 3 what he gave you last night to go along with Steph. Because remember, Steph didn't have anybody to come along with him in Game 3.
True.
So if Iggy had to give him that, but I believe if even without KD, because KD didn't start the series, so we're going to put him to the side. I believe if Klay Thompson stays healthy, I still believe the Warriors probably would have beat him, Skip. Your prediction probably would have been right.
Okay.
Golden State probably would have won this series in 7 games.
But to also Chris's first point, I do want to congratulate Toronto because Masai Ujiri did a really nice job putting that roster together. When he went and got Gasol, it was the finishing piece to that puzzle because he's still a mountain of a man who knows how to play. And when you look at all the, obviously number 2 is supremely talented. I used to be his biggest fan. So you start with that as your centerpiece. Look at what Siakam did last night. He goes 25 and 10. He makes 10 of 17 shots. It's hard to beat a team when he's doing that and Lowry's scoring 21 in the first half, right?
You said it, Siakam, where New Mexico State, Fred VanVleet, undrafted. Like, and a lot of these guys, too, are international.
Yeah.
OG Anunoby didn't play, but,
and you know he went out. Can play.
Right. They got guys, Masai got guys that wouldn't mind staying in Toronto.
Yeah.
Guys that aren't from America. Or, not everybody, of course.
You're
but a
right.
good, and even Gasol, is from Spain.
Gasol.
So, smart move by him.
Skip, I think I heard something which said this. I don't know if I'm repeating this correctly, but they're the first team to win an NBA title with a pick and not in the top 15.
No lottery.
Unbelievable.
No, let that sink in.
Right.
Well,
But Chris-
obviously, number 2 should have been a lottery pick, but R.C. Buford saw it before anybody
Yeah,
else did.
no, give him credit for that. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
No
I
lottery
know.
picks.
No mercy.
The U.S. women's national team's quest for the World Cup continues Sunday on Fox. Alex Morgan and Team USA face off against Chile. Catch all action Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern on Fox and on the Fox Sports app. The Warriors did not win the title this year, but they are still favored to win it all next year. That's according to Westgate. However, Golden State does have a lot of things to figure out with Klay Thompson and KD facing both injuries and free agency. The Warriors have the best odds to take the title in 2020, followed by the Lakers, Bucks, and Clippers. Despite the obstacles, Draymond Green and Steph Curry still confident about next season. Take a listen.
We'll be thinking about this one. It's tough, but our DNA and who we are, and the character that we have on this team, I wouldn't bet against us. Being back on the stage, next year and going forward. So, really proud of the way that we fought to the end. And this 5-year run's been awesome, but definitely don't think it's over.
Everybody thinks it's kind of end of us. That's just not smart. We're not done yet. We lost this year. Clearly, just wasn't our year. But it's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But yeah, I hear a lot of that noise. It's the end of a run and all that jazz. I don't see it happening though.
Draymond just breaks it down. We are joined once again by Chris Broussard. Chris, should Golden State be favorites for next year?
That has to be a computer glitch by Westgate. I mean, seriously, like how in the world could you have them as the favorites? When Kevin Durant's going to be out all year, it took Boogie, 51 weeks before he came back from the same injury. Now he's bigger, maybe Durant will come back earlier. But the bottom line is,
doubt that.
right, he's done for the next year. Klay Thompson, February, March, before he gets back, maybe he can be full
That's
go.
best case.
Right, that's best case. So maybe he's full go by playoffs. Now, I'll say this. I think they'll be contenders. I think they'll have a shot at winning the if Klay gets back and is full go 100% by the playoffs, I think they'll have a shot. I do think.
Who else is going to be on the team?
Well, then you'll have Draymond.
Okay.
And then you're right. Then Iguodala said he's coming back. Now he's falling apart physically. But I think they'll bring back Boogie. I think it's a great situation for Boogie.
Is unrestricted. I mean, he can go wherever he
But
wants
who's
to go.
going to give him?
I don't know.
You see anybody giving him like 15, 20
I don't know.
million?
He had some moments that might have opened some eyes.
See, I think he goes back to Golden State for the full mid-level, 7, 8 million, something like that. And for him, it's an opportunity to be on the big stage, play well. He'll be, especially with Klay out, he'll average over 20.
Okay.
Before Klay gets back.
Like Sacramento.
Right. Even when Klay gets back, he'll be the second option or third option when Klay gets back. So I think they'll have a shot. But right now, today, this may not be my preseason prediction come next fall. Right now, I'd have to say the favorite should be wherever Kawhi goes. If he stays in Toronto, I think you got to look at them because Siakam, who just started playing basketball when he was 16, he's going to get better. This reminds me, not style of play necessarily or anything, but this kind of reminds me of Scottie Pippen coming up under Jordan. And we've heard Kawhi compared to Jordan. But, Pippen, you could see him improving every year. You could see more potential. You could see him learning from Mike. I could see that if Kawhi stays, I think Toronto could be there. If he goes to the Clippers with Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams and Danilo Gallinari and all these guys, I think they should be the favorite. And then, of course, you throw in the Lakers. I think they're going to get Anthony Davis. We don't know who else they'll necessarily have.
Don't throw him in.
But they've got to be It is taking LeBron. It's taking him whenever he's meshed with another superstar. It's always taken at least a year. In Cleveland, he won it in second year? In Miami, they won it in the second year.
But he went to the
Yeah, they get to the finals.
But they went in their first year.
Get to the finals, but win it. No, they'll be there, but,
Got what I'm saying. Skip, this is a situation. I agree with you, Chris. I don't know what Westgate is thinking, but this is how they collect easy money. Because you saw the ticket where the Blues, I think in January, were 25-1,
Yep.
and someone put like $400, $500, and they end up winning $100,000. This is what this is. There is no way the Golden State Warriors should be favored to win the NBA title in 2020, considering even if Kevin Durant does not leave, Skip, he's not playing in 2020. The earliest Kevin Durant's playing is 2021. And let's just say for the sake of argument, Klay Thompson has Adrian Peterson type blood in healing ability. That's 9 months. So 9 months from today is what, Skip? That's if he has that type of healing ability.
Yep.
Really? So you think Draymond and Steph is going to be in position to keep this team afloat and win the title? Man, they need to. Westgate, y'all, look, I get what you're doing. You want to get this easy money out there because somebody, guess what? There's someone, P.T. Barnum said it, there's a sucker born every minute. Someone is foolish enough to go put $200, $500 down. Yeah, the Warriors going to do it. And Vegas say, thank you very much. Let's build another room on a hotel. Skip, there's no way the Warriors should be favored to win the title in 2020. But I tell you who should be.
Who?
He about to land a 6'10.5" player that has a brow that connects. You know who it is, Skip
Oh,
Bayless.
a unibrow. Is that what it is? Oh, I get that.
Yeah, he about to join the purple and gold.
Is he?
And I guarantee you, guaranteed.
They winning the championship?
About to go get.
You guaranteeing they
I'm
winning
about
the
to go
championship?
get a tattoo today. I might go get me an LA tattoo with a champ in 2020. Might go get that today.
Really? In Atlanta.
That's
you're
how
gonna get
convinced
that
I
tattoo,
am.
I guess. Yeah.
Might just go on and get that.
Interesting. So Shannon Sharpe is predicting that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to land Anthony Davis, and that is going to be enough to make them the favorite to win next year's NBA championship. Am I correct? I think that's what I just heard.
Saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Guaranteed it.
Just heard it.
To get him, they're probably going to have to give up in the end Lonzo, B.I., and Kuzma, and maybe even the 4th overall pick. So they're going to get gutted of their young potential star talent. And then they're going to have what? Are they going to land another superstar free agent? I think not. It's just me. So can those two guys
You gonna
take
trade
you to
that
the promised
4th pick?
line? Okay, for what?
We're
Nobody
going to
seems
trade the
want
4th
it.
pick and another first. Let me tell you what we're going to do, Skip Bayless. We're going to trade that 4th pick. We're going to trade another first-round pick, and we're going to land Bradley Beal.
Oh.
Is that what you're talking?
Wow.
Oh, now you're talking.
Yep. So you're
Told you
talking
we
like
cooking with
you're
Crisco.
talking just like Westgate is talking, because there's a whole lot of projecting and a whole lot of wishful thinking going on in all these odds.
Right.
Because somebody
it
at
is.
Westgate's got wishful thinking on the Lakers, or they're trying to dare the Shannon Sharpes of the world to go plunk down some early money on the Lakers as the second favorite in the NBA. What? So I remind everybody, last year, LeBron James in his 16th year played 55 games. 28 and 27 was the record of the Lakers last year with LeBron James and all those pieces that apparently he signed off on, all those playmakers, but it didn't work, and he got hurt for the first time in his career, extended injury off time, and now he's going into his 17th season, and you think Anthony Davis is going to solve all that. I don't. I'm sorry. That's not enough.
I still think they could. Look, Kemba said he would take less money to stay in Charlotte. I don't know if that means he's definitely staying there. I know he's very loyal. But if you're Kemba Walker, you need to be thinking about, how can I get on the big stage, right? How can I? Because Kemba he's a great player. He's a perennial all-star. He may be better than we think, though. We don't give him that credit because he's never done it in the playoffs. He's never had the chance. I've said if LeBron doesn't go to Cleveland, where's Kyrie? He's a perennial all-star, but do we think that much higher of him than we do of Kemba Walker if he never plays with LeBron and gets the opportunity to do it on the big stage? So Kemba needs to be thinking about that, and I think the Lakers would be a place that would be good for him, especially if they get AD.
Of course, Kemba wants to stay in Charlotte because Charlotte can max him out at 5 years, $221. He goes anywhere else, he gets 4 for $140. So that's a no-brainer. That's $80 million. So of course, even if he takes $40 million less, that's 5 years for $180, or that's 5 years for $190. He would rather have 5 for $190 as opposed to $140. So Kemba think he's slick by saying, "Yeah, I take less money." I bet you would.
So I want to remind everybody that the great Jeff Van Gundy said, was it during game, let's see, it would have been 3 at Oracle. Remember at the end of that game, he said, this team I'm watching right now, and that was without Klay Thompson.
That was game 4, Skip. That was game 4.
Okay.
That was game 4. They got blown out.
Are you sure? Because I think it was without Klay.
No, it was 3. It was 3. It was 3 without Klay. It was without Klay. It was 3. You're right.
There's
It was 3.
obviously no KD and now no Klay, and he's looking at this group, which did feature a 2-time former MVP in Steph and Draymond and DeMarcus, and he's saying that team would not have made the Western Conference playoffs this year. So I remind everybody to put that in perspective. I disagree with that. I think they could have been at least the 8th seed.
Was he I think Jeff was talking about Cousins as he is right now, which is a shell of himself. But we assume he's going to be better next year.
I thought he was pretty good in spurts.
He was in spurts, but he can't get off the ground. You could see like yesterday.
Okay, so
he got no lift.
Okay, did he ever have great
Not
lift?
a ton, but
no. Okay,
a little bit.
So in
but
the
he
end,
can ill afford to lose anything, Skip.
Yeah. So in the end, the pressure next year is on your guy, LeBron James, because everybody's going to look. But when all the smoke clears, I think they will be a heavy favorite.
They should be.
Maybe not the favorite, but maybe a second favorite, as they are right now.
It's going to be wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming these guys disperse in different ways, these free agents, which is, it'll be more wide open than
ever.
You got to go back
because
in the early
no matter.
Hey, Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
You know LeBron James, they call him Crock-Pot because he performs well under pressure. You know them Crock-Pots, they cook real good with pressure. You know what I'm saying, Skip Bayless?
I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I don't even know what a crock-pot is.
So who you never said?
I don't know what a crock-pot is.
Who should be favored?
I come from a family of cooks, and I don't know what a crock-pot is because I can't boil water in the microwave.
Who you think should be favored? It's hard to tell because it's.
You know what's intriguing to me is if the Rockets stay as is and the Sixers stay as is, and I know Daryl Morey's made all this saber rattling about I'm going to trade everybody, but I'm not counting those two teams out. Like they're still.
What about Milwaukee?
And Milwaukee, that's a good one. I forgot about them because I forgot about Giannis because he came up so small for me against obviously.
I think he's shooting jumpers right
you
now.
Need to stop.
Giannis is shooting jumpers right now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Is Joel Embiid going to stay healthy? Is he going to drop 30 pounds?
Good question.
Skip?
I don't know. But that's the question for them.
Well.
But here's my final thought. In about a month, I got a trip planned to Las Vegas, and I'm going to put a couple of bucks down on my San Antonio Spurs at 50 to 1.
Don't do it.
I like that. 50
Shocking.
to 1. 50 to 1.
Don't put down too much.
DeJounte Murray. I'm doing it.
No mercy.
Steph Curry had a chance to win Game 6 last night, but he whiffed on a potential game-winning three-pointer in the final seconds. Steph averaging about 31 points per game in the finals, but he made just one shot in the fourth quarter last night. He has won 3 titles in his career, but never the title of Finals MVP. So, Skip, what you think? How did this finals affect Steph's overall legacy?
Shannon, I've loved Steph Curry, but I cannot tell a lie. This once again does further damage to his legacy, to his long-term reputation. Because as Jen points out, that's 5 finals with 0 MVPs for a 2-time regular season MVP. And
correct.
I'll give you this. He scored 47 points in a home game 3. And yet, I told you it was such a quiet 47. It was more twos and free throws, and they never were able to cut the deficit to within more than 7 points. And then we saw him make the biggest three-point shot of his playoff life in Game 5 at Toronto to tie the game, but he had been 1 for 8 in the second half up to that point from 3. And this proved to me once again that he comes up smallest when his team needed him most. Because, as I told you earlier, in his playoff career now, he's 0 for 8 on field goal attempts to go ahead in a game in the final 20 seconds in playoff games. Well, that's not very good, and they got him a great look last night under the circumstances, and he missed that 3. By his standards, he missed it badly. It didn't even have a chance to go down. So,
Skip, that's terrible for a guy. Skip, not to cut you off, but you said he's 0-8 in the last 20 seconds. Skip, for a guy that's the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA, that is awful.
Yep. So then we look at what did he do in the fourth quarter last night? He went 1 for 6 and 0 of 4 from 3 without his running mate, Klay Thompson. When they needed him most, he just wasn't there for them. And what did he do in game 2? They won in spite of him because Klay went down with 8 minutes left at Toronto, and Steph couldn't even get a shot up over the last 8 minutes, couldn't even get to the free throw line.
Right.
And now I look at the totality of this 6-game series. He shot 34% from 3 in this series. Well, he's like a 50% three-point shooter. And in the fourth quarter of these 6 games, he shot 17% from 3. Holy moly, as his new show is going to be called. That's horrendously bad for him. And then remember, to keep this in the big picture context, he was the biggest reason for that history-making collapse that they suffered up 3-1 on LeBron's team back in 2016. And remember, in games 5 through 7, when they blew the lead, he was 30% from the field and 25% from 3. So we've seen this act before. And in that game 7 that year, that's his home game at Oracle. He goes 6 of 19, and in the fourth quarter, he goes 1 of 6 from the field and 1 of 5 from 3. Well, we've seen it before, and we saw it again last night. And I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but these are bad tidings for a guy who's that great a shooter.
Skip, I want to disagree with you, but I can't. Skip, I was willing to go as far as say if Steph Curry were to win the finals and he's finals MVP, I might be willing to put him in front of Magic, considering what he would have been able to accomplish. But if you remember, Skip, Magic had moments. We remember in 80, his rookie year, Game 6, 42, 15, and 7. Oh. We also remember in 84, Skip, the baby Kareem, the baby Sky Hook. Magic had moments in playoff in the finals that we'll never forget. We keep waiting for Steph to have those type moments. We know what he represents in the regular season. We know he can shoot the ball from distance better than anybody before him, and maybe anybody's even to come after him. But we have yet to see it. Now, he's been in the finals 5 times. He suffered, 2 defeats, and in the 3 wins, even if you give him, Skip, even if you say, okay, he deserved the first one, they gave it to Iggy because of what he did with the next 2, Kevin Durant was head and shoulders the best player on that team.
Agreed.
And more than deserved to be the finals MVP.
Yep.
You make a very compelling argument if they get to Game 7 and they win, and the way it's going, Klay is probably going to be the MVP. Because here's the thing people probably don't know. In their 2 wins, Klay has scored the most points. Klay was the leading scorer in their 2 wins. Klay shot 58% from the three-point line, Skip. And Steph, for whatever reason, we keep waiting. We touched on it in the last segment, Skip. You can't shoot the ball like he can for distance. And when the rubber needs to meet the road, they put the ball in your hand and say deliver, and you drop it. You can't drop the eggs on the way to the market because we put them all in your basket, Steph. Skip, this was, if he gets to a Game 7 and they lose, it's a little ding, but I think, did we really expect Steph to beat Toronto with Kawhi and all those role players playing exceptionally well when he doesn't have Klay, he doesn't have KD? No. But Skip, you got to get him to a Game 7. He scored 4 points once Klay got injured. Skip, that's not good enough.
I agree.
It was Iggy that was keeping him in the game. It was Draymond and Boogie. I'm like, Steph, this is your moment. This is your time to shine. You can't be relying on Iggy and Boogie Cousins. Where is Steph? And Steph wasn't to be seen. Skip, this is bad. As much as look, LeBron had that awful in 2010, I believe it was, Skip, against the Mavs. And he's lost a lot of finals since then. But you can never say he didn't play big. He's been unbelievable. We keep waiting on Steph to have that moment minus KD. And guess what, Skip? KD would have been favored again to win finals MVP, and they would have won. I believe they probably would have swept the Raptors at worst case, winning 5 games, and Kevin Durant would have been finals MVP, and we still have the very same questions we have today. When is Steph ever going to win a Finals MVP? And can he ever be a Pantheon great? Because, Skip, 4 and 5 years with a Finals MVP and 2 MVPs, I think you have to start making that question. But that's a question for another day now.
So you know what hurt my soul even more than Kevin Durant leaving Russell Westbrook to join forces with the Golden State Warriors? Was that Steph allowed it. Steph embraced it. It hurt my heart that Steph Curry, a 2-time, he'd just been unanimous MVP, said, you know what? We need that guy. Well, that I didn't want to acknowledge it at the time, but I think he was really telling everybody, I'm really good, but I'm not that guy. And he sort of publicly admitted what he wasn't when you lead the charge to go to the Hamptons to recruit Kevin Durant. Really? You need that?
Skip, you know when I talk sports, a lot of times I put things in I use analogies and I put it into relationship terms. Skip, it's hard to say no to J-Lo if you're in a relationship and your relationship's on shaky ground. If you're steadfast, you've been married for 10, 15 years, and that's been your best friend, J-Lo, get up out of here. Steph knew he was on shaky ground. He saw what just happened to him.
Yep.
LeBron and Kyrie pulled off the all-timer, down 3-1, and they come back and take it. So if your relationship's on shaky ground, it's easy for someone to attract your attention. It's easy for someone to get your eye. But when you're steady, boy, you stand fast. I don't worry about all this other stuff. I got tunnel vision. See, Ernestine sleep good at night. She said, I know I got Skip Bayless' undivided attention. I'm his best friend, and nobody else going to put up with his bull jive like I will.
I hope she thinks that. Well. Nope, you're right. And I agree with all that. And yet, you've made the point repeatedly that what drove Kevin Durant the craziest in Golden State was he just realized right away, this is never going to be my town and my team. It's Steph's. And he is the baby-faced assassin who's not really an assassin. In the end, he can assassinate you in little ways, but not in the biggest way. And so I'm going to assume that KD's going to be gone, in part because he knows it's really Steph's territory, right?
But Skip, this is what drives KD the craziest. He's like, I'm so much better than this cat. And y'all still won't give me what I deserve. Y'all see this? Every big shot that we needed to make in the finals since I've been here, I've come up clutch. And y'all still heap the praise. Bob Myers is on stage during the parade heaping praise on Steph Curry.
He was.
And KD like, really? Yep. Did I just drop 43 in a game 3?
That is
Did
true.
I just hit the shot of the shots? And you over here talking about this cat? Remember, y'all put the call in. Y'all came to see me. Y'all interrupted my vacation in Sag Harbor.
True.
And now y'all won't give me the credit that I rightfully deserve. That's what, Skip, when you know you're better and everybody else knows you're better, but they still heap praise on the guy that you know you're better than, and the guy himself knows that you're better than him, Skip, that would drive me crazy also. I'm sorry. You know, I give Kevin Durant a hard time but it would drive me crazy, Skip. If I know I'm better, the guy knows I'm better, and everybody else knows I'm better, but you just look down on me because you say, well, you are better, but why'd you join him?
Yeah. And
you can beat that guy up, but...
Yeah, you're not trying to suggest that they hate each other because I think they're really close,
No.
Steph and KD.
No.
But
Yes,
I think in
they are.
KD's heart of hearts, he's not going to say it publicly. He's thinking what you're thinking. He just watched Fred Van Vliet basically shut down Steph Curry in fourth quarter after fourth quarter, and Fred Van Vliet's about 6 feet tall. I don't think he's more than 6 feet, and Steph's 6'3".
Maybe.
Yeah. So
Maybe.
I don't know.
Finally,
that's,
some
Skip,
consensus
that just goes
between y'all. And
a
some
good big man.
smiles out of Skip.
Yep.
But you know what, Shannon?
With the exception of Jordan, you're always going to take the good big man over the good little man.
Yep.
That's always the case.
No mercy.
Kawhi Leonard named Finals MVP for the second time last night. He was very close to being a unanimous choice, receiving 10 out of 11 votes. Kawhi averaged about 29 points, 10 boards in the finals, but did not make a shot in the fourth quarter last night.
Really?
Chris Bruce, I know you missed that one.
Interesting.
Chris Broussard back with us. Chris, you voted in this before, not this year, but in past years. Do you think Kawhi deserved to be the MVP?
Look, I hate to disagree with Hubie Brown because I love Hubie Brown.
So do I.
But to me, it was a no-brainer. Now, was Kawhi the MVP of Game 6? No. But the MVP of the series, he led the Raptors in points, rebounding, and steals. He clearly was their best player. He went to the free throw line almost 11 times a game and shot more than 90% from the line. Like, he is the engine that got this team going. Even in his quote-unquote bad games, he was well over 20 points. 22 and 23 were his bad games. In the Oracle, in games 3 and 4, which really kind of ended the series, he averaged 33 points and shot like 51% from the floor. So to me, it's simple. And let's look at the other guys. Pascal Siakam certainly, was really good last night, but disappeared in game 5, didn't even play the last 9 minutes and had 2 12-point games. If we look at Kyle Lowry, who was sensational last night, especially early on, he scored 7 points in game 1, 10 points in game 4, 13 points in another game. So he didn't. Game 2, okay. And then Serge and Fred VanVleet, neither of them averaged double figures in the series. So how in the world could one of those guys be the finals MVP? Again, Kawhi wasn't MVP of yesterday's game, but for the whole series, I don't think anybody else could have won it.
No one else could have won it. And that's why I don't have a problem disagreeing with Hubie. I like Hubie too, but he dead wrong on this one. And so are you, Skip Bayless. How are you going to lead your team in points, rebounds, second in the assists? He's the de facto the best player on your team, the best defensive player on your team. He led the entire series in the 2019 NBA Finals. Kawhi Leonard led all players, whether you played with the Raptors or the Warriors, in fourth quarter scoring. Chris, you touched on it. Game 3 and 4, after they lost game 2, Nick Nurse huddled his team up in the locker room and said, guys, all we got to do is go back, get one game in Oracle, and we're back on serve. Kawhi Leonard stood up and said, F it. We're going to get both. B-O-F-F. Get both of them. And now, Chris, you know this. Had Kobe said something like that, had Michael said something like that, do you understand the lore that would have went with that? And then they go get both of those games and they win the NBA Finals?
That's a good point.
A better point is, wait a second, Kobe and Michael had never quit on some previous team before they came to the
Kobe game, Phoenix? Stop shooting against Phoenix.
You remember that game when he went shoot? When he demanded a trade? You remember that, Skip Bayless?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I thought you did. I thought you remember everything, especially when it comes to Kawhi. But you seem to forget everything about Michael, about how he lost game 1 when Magic put that triple-double on him. But we go talking about Kawhi and the Finals MVP. If anyone else had won it, man, Skip, that would have been the biggest ripoff since the Louisiana Purchase.
Really? That was a pretty big ripoff.
Yes.
I got to give you that one. That was a good one.
We got him. Oh, and next to Russia, when we swindled Alaska from Russia for $7 million, they thought it was wasteland. We've been pumping oil off Alaska ever since.
Although Manhattan Island was a pretty big ripoff too, right?
A lot of ripoffs in American history.
So, here's my problem. I'm all about fourth quarters, and we just gave the MVP to a guy who is not the closer for the Toronto Raptors because VanVleet was the closer, which is why Hubie said, I'm going to go with the closer. He closed again last night with 12 fourth quarter points, including 3 huge threes, while Steph was going 0 for 4 from 3. And I thought Fred VanVleet did a sensationally underrated job of hounding and dogging Steph throughout the series because They started starting him, like in second halves, they would just play him. He was playing high minutes, all of them on Steph. And we just talked about Steph before you rejoined us here. And Fred's about 6 feet tall, maybe. I don't know if he's taller.
Probably about
right?
6
maybe.
feet.
Okay.
A little stockier than Steph.
He's stockier, but he was just all up in him. The whole series he was in him, just hounding him, just taking him out of what he did, fighting through picks.
Yes.
And it was a big deal what he did on defense.
No, it was huge.
Okay? And the driving force of the Raptors, the whole series, was Kyle Lowry, because he was getting in the lane at will. He was beating people off dribbles and just breaking down and destroying, picking to pieces Golden State's overrated defense, because there wasn't a lot going on there to me. But he was literally the driving force and came up so big. The turning point game was game 3 at Oracle, because it's 1-1. And he dominated that game with 23-9. And then he dominated the first half last night and set a tone that reverberated for them through the second half, because he scored 21 by halftime, 15 in the first quarter. So he deserves some. His value was at least equal to me to number 2's value. Okay, over the whole series as the point guard, the driving force. Now we get to the fourth quarter. Well, Van Vliet closes because number 2 can't, because there are 3 big games where he just completely disappears down the stretch. I've never seen anything like it, but I saw it in San Antonio, and I kept telling him he doesn't have a fourth quarter backbone. It's not how he is made. And again, he had the one flurry in game 5.
That was at the end of the game. It wasn't the last 3 minutes, but it was minutes 5 through 3. That was huge.
And then you're up 6 points, and there's 3:28 left in the game. And what happened? Nothing happened. He disappears. He takes 2 shots, misses both of them. One of them an air ball, and they blow a 6-point lead at home to set up what was last night's game.
Where was Van Vliet?
Closing
in that game.
Okay, all right.
He didn't.
Okay, all right, he didn't. But I think they all turned to him because he'd just gone Jordan-esque and said, "You take us home," and he couldn't, and he didn't.
See, I would say. So you think it should have been Van Vliet?
Yeah, I'll go with Hubie. Yeah.
Van Vliet. When you say he's their closer, I don't think I think Kawhi is still their closer. Like if they have to go to somebody, they're going to Kawhi, as evidenced by the only Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. Against Philadelphia.
It was the luckiest shot.
It went, but they went to him, so he's the closer.
Okay, they went to him because he didn't. There was no other place to go on that play. He made that play on his own because he had to dribble by 2 guys.
Right, but they put the ball in his hand, said, "Chris." Go ahead, Shannon.
Hey, Chris, if you ask him this, why in the fourth quarter, we saw it last night in the backcourt, they trapped Kawhi to get the ball out of his hand.
Yep.
If you remember Game 5, they trapped Kawhi to get the ball out of his hand. Why are they not trapping Van Vliet? If they're so afraid of him, why would they not trap him to get the ball out of his hand?
I'm glad you brought up the last play in Game 5, because if you're that guy that you're talking about, if you're the MVP of the finals, you just take on Klay Thompson and just drive him hard left, and you just shoot the shot. Nobody can stop you from shooting that shot.
Michael Jordan passed up shots.
Okay, but
over a 6'2" John Stockton.
But there's not an obvious open guy. Just drive it and shoot it. It's your basic.
Van Vliet. We talking about the closer. Van Vliet's the guy that Kawhi passed.
I think he was shocked that he got the pass.
He could have had a look. He could have shot that. He didn't. Okay. He gave it to Lowry.
Okay, the play was actually being run in a baseline screen by Gasol to get Lowry free in the corner, right?
But Van Vliet, there was talk of why didn't he take that shot.
And I'll buy that. Right? I will give you that.
I just look and Van Vliet played tremendously, and you brought up a good point about his defense, because I'm sure that when the Hubie Brown's thinking too, he helped shut down Steph. But you know the difference between being the superstar that everybody is counting on and being a guy that whatever I give him is gravy. That's huge. Like, they're not looking to Van Vliet to carry him in the fourth. I give him credit. He hit some huge shots. He's got guts and he's got skill. But it's different when nobody expects it.
You know what Skip Bayless doing? Skip Bayless wants to give the server more credit than the cook. I understand that you brought me my meal in a timely manner, but you ain't prepared nothing in the back. Van Vliet just
brings it out.
Yeah. Why was the cook 6th in plus minus? Because the cook was 6th on his team in finals plus minus. You like that? I don't love that.
Fred Van Vliet. I don't really like plus minus because Fred Van Vliet played unbelievable and he was minus 10 last night. Okay. You like that?
All right.
That's a good one.
But look at his fourth quarter. I don't know if you can flip to his fourth quarter plus minus, because it's not going to be minus 10.
His fourth quarter was
I don't know what it was last night.
Plus 6.
Plus 6, okay.
And they all, Kawhi's was plus 4.
Okay. And help me out on this, Mr. Sharpe. What happened
Yeah.
in a
Yes.
pretty pivotal game 2 down the stretch in Toronto? Klay Thompson pulls his hamstring and he is gone. And all of a sudden, Steph Curry just goes into his shell and can't even get a shot up. He goes 0 for 0. And what did number 2 do down the stretch of a home game? Did he come up big?
He was waiting on Fred VanVleet. He was waiting on the close of the close.
Oh, really? I think it was quite the opposite of that. I think Van Vliet's saying, are you going to do it or not? Because he winds up scoring 6 points on 2 controversial plays. He gets away with an offensive foul where he just elbows Draymond.
That's
That's a part of the NBA. You know
okay.
that.
No, I don't. I would have called that.
Hold on,
foul.
Michael.
I'm calling that foul.
Chris,
This was an elbow
Chris,
to the
hold
chest.
On. What did Michael Jordan do to Byron Russell?
Right.
Okay, it was a
Byron Russell's still stuck.
It was a subtle push with an open hand.
Subtle?
This is a forearm to the chest. It was a subtle push.
Skip.
No, come
I don't
on.
think Michael Jordan could stand up to Skip
Oh,
Bayless
please,
standards
please,
in
no.
2019.
Hey.
That would be an interesting discussion.
And then how did he get his last 2 free throws? He drives it, and DeMarcus just picks his pocket clean, and the last 2-minute report says, we blew that call. And he gets to go to the free throw line and make 2 more free throws. And that's all the points he scored down the stretch, and they lost. They lost.
It's baffling to me how anybody could think anyone other than Kawhi.
You know what's baffling to me is that nobody holds this guy accountable for disappearing in 3 of the 6 fourth quarters. Nobody. I do.
Even if that were true, and I don't think that's true, but even if he just carried them for 3.5 quarters and someone else closed, that still is huge. I mean, somebody's got to do that. That's not, you don't.
Like that 17-point third quarter he had in Game 4.
Great
Remember that one, Chris?
stuff,
That
gentlemen.
17-point third quarter.
No mercy.
Kawhi Leonard made some interesting comments last night about his old home in San Antonio. As we all know, thanks to Skip, Kawhi played just 9 games last season for the Spurs with that quad injury before getting traded. Take a listen to the Claw.
A lot of people were doubting me. Thought I was either faking an injury or didn't want to play for a team. And that was disappointing to me that was out in the media. So me just, going through that and, I just knew that I have to make myself happy and no one else. And I have to trust myself. And it doesn't matter what anybody has to say about me. I know who I am as a person. I know how I feel. Just be able to win this championship this year is something special for me. Because you know how the last year everybody was looking at me. And I stayed true to myself. And I had a great support system. And once I got here to Toronto, they understood everything, and the move kept moving from there.
Chris Broussard still hanging with us this morning. Chris, what do you think Kawhi proved this year?
I've got 4 things that he proved. Number 1, he is an all-time great. Not just this generation, he is an all-time great. He's the 3rd player ever to win Finals MVP with 2 different teams, joining LeBron and Kareem. That's a heck of a list. He's the 1st player ever to win Finals MVP in both the East and the Western conferences. And I can't recall, Skip, a player, I might be missing somebody, but I can't recall a player going to a team and in his first year leading that team to an NBA championship without other superstars. We can go back to the Boston Big Three when Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen went there in their first year. They won it, but Paul Pierce was there. That was the Big Three. That started the Big Three, the modern-day Big Three era. We can go back to Moses Malone in 1983, his first year in Philadelphia. Philadelphia had Dr. J. They had been to the finals the year before. So for Kawhi Leonard to go to a team of role players and win a championship in his first year, I got to...
Wait a second. Lowry's not a role player. Is that what you're talking about?
I think Lowry,
Lowry's a 5-time All-Star.
Look, with all due respect to Lowry, because he is very good, he's like Al Horford. He's not that upper tier All-Star.
But 5 times, that's hard to do.
In the East,
okay.
Would he be an All-Star in the West?
Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Is he a top 50? Is he a top 50? Is he a top 50 player all time, Skip?
Kyle Lowry?
No.
Is that who you're talking about?
He
No.
knows
What are
that.
you talking about? Is he a top
Okay, then.
50
So he's
all
got
time?
no.
Okay, was Marc Gasol a former defensive player of the year? Was he not?
They're pretty. He's older too, though.
You just call them a bunch of role players.
They are.
Seriously?
At this point in their
Siakam
careers,
is verging on stardom. Next year he will arrive.
I will give you that. But
he's not there
he's
yet.
not there yet.
Yeah.
He's not there.
All right.
Regardless, it wasn't a big three. It's not a superstar-laden team. Second thing he proved is that he deserves to go into next season with that mythical title we give out of best player in the world. Now, will LeBron take it? We'll see. But going into next season with KD out, he deserves to go in as the best player in the world. He took out Philadelphia's star-studded lineup. He took out Giannis, who'll be the MVP.
Star-studded lineup didn't have Embiid. He was either hurt or sick every game.
He played 6 games.
No,
We heard him.
No excuses. You out on the floor. And then he took down Goliath. Now, I know Goliath was all banged up.
Oh, wait.
But
Goliath wasn't-
everybody else has been scared of Golden State for the last 4 years. People been scared of him. He took him out. The third thing, and this
Stop there, Chris. Stop saying that.
No, people didn't think they could beat Golden State. Now, this isn't something he really proved. I say Isaiah Thomas in Boston proved it, and Kevin Durant just proved it. But Kawhi Leonard is the epitome of this and the poster child for this. Of don't always get a second opinion, always get your own independent doctor to examine you, and don't let a team push you out there when you don't think you're ready. Because you know your body better than anybody else. And we saw what happened to KD, and we saw what happened to Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was going to get $100 million. He played last year for like $2 million. So Kawhi proved that. And then fourth, the beauty of playing the hand you're dealt, buying in. And I've said this to LeBron, about LeBron. Look, if they don't get Anthony Davis, buy into what you have. Go in there, buy into Fred Vogel, buy into Brandon Ingram, Kuzma, Ball. Say, I'm good enough with what we have, especially next year when Golden State's going to be a mess and it's going to be wide open, that you can win it. Kawhi went there, didn't worry about, I got to get another superstar. I got to get this guy. Play the hand you're dealt. He was no maintenance, not even low maintenance, no maintenance. And because you never know what can happen. Somebody can get hurt, obviously. And believe it. Stop. Don't be recruiting during the season publicly. You can do it. Let the front office do it. You can advise them in the offseason. But during the season, this is what we got. I believe in my boys. Let's go. Especially if you the best player in the world.
I hope you're finished after all that.
He proved a lot.
Uncle Dennis might have hired you as their PR guy. I don't know. I've never heard anything like that.
Go ahead, Skip. Yeah. Go ahead. I know you want to beat up on Kawhi some more, so I'm going to let you have it.
I just want a truth tell. Because, look, I used to be this guy's biggest fan. I used to sing his praises louder than you just sang them. On this show, I have to that guy, that big head in the monitor right there. And I used to tell that guy he has eclipsed, this is in 2017 playoffs, he's eclipsed your man LeBron James as the best two-way player in basketball. Maybe not the best player on the planet, but both ways, defense, offense, he's that guy. And all he proved to me over the last season, last calendar year, let's say, is that you can get your way in today's NBA by quitting on the team that taught you all that you know about how to be an NBA star. And it's highly offensive to me because I'm not buying for 1 second, because I've heard from too many horses' mouths. He exaggerated his thigh condition. He had a thigh bruise that they finally gave in to call tendinosis, because San Antonio is the most conservative, player-friendly medical staff in all of sports, and it ain't even close. And they let this guy get away with missing 20 games and 10 games and 15 games for various minor ailments because they are so patient in San Antonio. As you know, players come first there. Pop is always erring on the side of caution with every player's minor injury. And he took more and more advantage until Uncle Dennis took over all of his business and professional affairs and said, we got to get you out of there. We got to get you out from under Pop's thumb, and we got to get you either to New York or to Los Angeles. And they did so by exaggerating that injury to the point that they dug in and they pushed the Spurs. They forced their hands to finally say in January, after he'd missed 30 games, hey, you're making $18 million this is last year, $18 million. You owe us some
made
games
19,
here.
but who's counting?
19, okay, whatever it was, 18 point something. And they publicly declared him fully capable of all basketball activity. And he did not like it because they called him out. They called his hand publicly. And so he dug in because he can be a big baby, and once he gets his way with
stop it, Skip. See, now you
No,
exaggerating,
he just
Skip.
is. I know him. I watched him for 7 years. And he got away with this because it went on. He missed 73 games until two Hall of Famers are left, but Duncan was involved in this too. Even though he's retired, he's still very close to the team. They all put him on the hot seat, and they said, we got a chance to make a deep run in these playoffs with Ginobili and Parker in their final good years in San Antonio. And they said, what you got? Are you with us or not? And he said, I'm not ready to go. I'm still hurt. And Tony Parker then called him out the way Tony has never called anybody out and said, my injury, which was a ruptured quadriceps tendon, was 100 times worse than this guy's injury. That's all I needed to hear. That came from the mouth of a cinch Hall of Famer. And that was the end of that story.
Now, you know that you talk to people in San Antonio. I've always been told down there, the thing about Kawhi, since they drafted him, is that he's never wanted to play through like minor aches and pains. So that, I think that's in his character, that he if he's not 100%, some guys, Klay Thompson, obviously, will go out there and play hurt. I don't think it's weakness, but he just, that's who he is. He doesn't like playing. So I would believe that he was feeling some injury. And he got doctors to say he had a second.
Okay, but
right?
I told Shannon this. I spoke to one doctor who examined him who said, I believe it's all in his head. I heard it. And I'm going to stand by it because that's what I believe mostly. Did he have a thigh bruise that developed into some kind of, I don't know. But again, it's the kind of thing Shannon Sharpe just plays through as an NFL player without even thought about it. Okay.
But for the most part, football players are wired a little differently.
I'd say.
We saw it on this at our table. Sugar Ray Leonard came on and he said, what? It's this. It's the mind.
Yep.
Because once you get to that level, all the guys are talented. So if Kawhi Leonard believes in his mind that he's hurt, it doesn't matter what doctors tell him how he should feel. At the end of the day, and you keep telling me, the Spurs was poised to make a deep run. They were going to make a run so deep that Manu retired after the season, and then Tony Parker retired a year later. What kind of run are they going to make?
Shannon,
to the old folks home?
they were really
That's
good.
That's the only place they were going.
They were rolling.
No,
they were good. They were good.
No.
And obviously he was their best player, but they were poised. And Chris argued with me the year before when Zaza Pacheep shot happened, but they had Golden State down in game 1 of the Western Finals at Oracle. They had them down 23 in the third quarter. And again, I'm singing his praises. I'm his biggest fan. And once he goes out, that's the end of that deal.
I do think Golden State would have won that series, but I tell you what we just saw does make you wonder.
All right.
It does make you wonder.
Okay.
Like, I'll give you that. It does make you wonder.
Okay.
And guess what else I wonder? I wonder when the Spurs think they're going to win another title without Kawhi. You think
we'll
they won
see
that,
about
Chris? I think that.
DeJounte is nice,
Kawhi
but he's
said,
not Kawhi.
We'll
Fighting
see about
words,
that.
Shannon Sharpe. Fighting words.
We'll see. We still got LaMarcus. We still got DeMar. I don't know.
Oh, really? That guy that couldn't.
Morning,
Hold on. DeMarcus Aldridge, that guy that couldn't cut it up in Portland?
That guy.
No mercy.
Is Anthony Davis finally coming to LA? According to ESPN, the Lakers feel they're in the driver's seat in the race to acquire AD because they can offer the best package. Multiple reports say the Lakers have offered Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and the 4th overall pick. However, the LA Times reporting the Pelicans also want Kyle Kuzma as part of any deal. Shannon, how you feeling about this trade actually happening?
I feel real good. Skip, I don't want to get too excited. Yeah. Sometimes, I've been let down before. There are times at Christmas I thought I was going to get a gift, and I've been promised this gift, and it didn't come through. My mom's money jumped funny, and I didn't get the gift. So I've learned to pace myself with happiness. So I'm going to be real patient. But I tell you what, I feel very comfortable. I feel that we are in the catbird seat, which is a favorable position. I do feel that way. Skip, look, this is the best deal for both parties. We have the most to offer. We're one of the few teams that's on Anthony Davis's wish list. We have the young players that could potentially be all-stars, and we have a draft pick. Now, look, I do not believe that Kyle Kuzma should and will be the deal breaker. Hold out as long as you can, because they know Anthony Davis wants out. They also know they can't bring him back. Now, as we speak, we're actively shopping that 4th pick in the draft. We're trying to get a player that the Pelicans might like to ship him and be able to keep Kuzma. But if that cannot be worked out, we will take the 4th pick and we'll deal independently regardless of what the Pelicans may or may not want. But this deal is going to happen. Vegas agrees with me. How do you become the second favorite to win the 2020 title when you didn't even make the playoffs unless they know something?
Well, you still have that guy. What's his name? James.
Oh, LeBron James.
Oh, yeah, LeBron. I forget his name because he's out of the playoffs.
Right.
I haven't said his name in
Don't
weeks
do that,
now.
Skip.
They were just
Don't
gone.
do that.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Whatever.
So
whatever.
Every report I read that says Lakers not in the catbird seat but in the driver's seat which is better, catbird or driver's seat? I don't know. They're pretty. I think the catbird seat might be a little better. I don't know.
It is a little better.
Yeah. Okay. So
yes.
Every report says Lakers in driver's seat, and if I know David Griffin, that rankles him. That sticks in his craw because I would guess that he would tell you privately he's in the driver's seat because he still has Anthony Davis under contract, and if he really wanted to, he could just extend this toward next year's trade deadline. I know it would be an ugly situation for everybody involved.
You lose value.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Might escalate value. You never know. But if you threaten to hang on to him, it puts the catbird seat in New Orleans. And
no,
hey, there's no way this deal is going to get done unless Kyle Kuzma is a part of it. And I'm willing to bet that it's going to be Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Kuzma, and the 4th pick straight up for Anthony Davis. Basically, it'll boil down to that.
No. It's not going to be that. See, Skip, here's the thing. You could say everybody keeps saying that the Lakers are in the driver's seat. That rankles David Griffin's feathers. Well, here's the thing. Now, you can trade Anthony Davis for acorns, or you can already get the trees that's already blooming. So the choice is yours. Because, see, we got these trees, these oaks that's already blooming. That's what grows on, elk trees produce acorns. But you know what I'm talking about, Skip. Anyway, Lonzo, we've seen Brandon Ingram, and we've seen Kuzma take big, big steps. Now, you can go and, because here's the thing. We know OD, wheeling, dealing, Danny Ainge going to try to give you some jelly beans.
He will. I agree.
For Anthony Davis. He's going to try to hold on to Jaylen Brown. He's going to try to hold on to Jason Tatum. Although I remember once upon a time, people told me that Jason Tatum was head and shoulders above Kyle Kuzma and Brandon Ingram. He was light years. I can't tell.
Okay.
Now, he will probably be part of a package. But we got the best package. We got the most pieces. And Kyrie is gone. Danny Ferry, why can't you convince your own players to stay? Kyrie, book it.
Yep. No, I got you. So, in the end, the pressure is mounting on your man LeBron James because I'm convinced this is AD or bust. And I'm also convinced that as we speak, Jerry West, who's now the mastermind of the team next door, the Clippers, is working on some deal that would boggle your mind, that would be, it'll be so complex, but he's going to try to steal AD out from under LBJ. That's what he's going to do.
It ain't happening.
Yeah. Just
well,
watch.
here's the West, the pressure, here's the thing with the West. The West hinted on you got a KD with a busted Achilles and you got Clay with a busted knee.
They're out.
The West is wide open.
It's wide open.
With
I
or
agree.
without AD.
Yep.
Now with AD, we're firmly entrenched in the driver's seat, catbird seat, or the car seat. It doesn't matter what kind of seat. We're there.
Okay.
Well, the Lakers certainly thought they were in the driver's seat with trade talks with both Paul George and your man Kawhi Leonard, and we all know what happened with that.
Yep.
So time will tell.
No mercy.
Our final topic of the day, Tiger Woods is on the course right now at Pebble Beach in the second round of the U.S. Open. Yesterday, Tiger shot a 1 under 70, and he's currently 4 shots back of the leaders. Coverage starts in about 30 minutes over on FS1. Shannon, how do you like Tiger's chances this weekend?
I still leave it about 10%. I think the thing is, he mentioned it in his press earlier, he wanted to be putting uphill below the cup. And he did that a lot yesterday, but he left the ball a couple of revolutions short. But he did put well enough to save himself a couple of times because it could have been bogey, and he got out of there with par. But Skip, some of those pars could have easily been birdies. True. He didn't shoot himself out of the tournament, so he still has a chance. They thought yesterday would be his low day, but he's still in the tournament, so I still give him a 10% chance. He needs to make a move today, though.
Boy, you're not too pro Tiger, are you? I'm sticking with my 49% chance that I give Tiger. I liked the way he played yesterday. He double bogeyed number 5, that par 3, and then he bounced back and hung in to get it to -1. He's already got to -2 today. And Justin Rose at -6. So I think Koepka is also at -2. It's going to come down to Koepka versus Tiger, and I got Koepka winning by a shot on Sunday.
Well, how you give him a 49% chance, but you got Koepka winning on Sunday?
Because, see, that's how it works. 51% will be Koepka to 49% for Tiger. I think it works perfectly.
No mercy.
Thank you for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Keep an eye out for the weekend edition of the podcast tomorrow morning, featuring this week's best segments. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.